Let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best and easiest place to play fantasy football for big cash prizes. On Underdog Fantasy, you just draft. No need to worry about waivers, lineups, or injuries. Underdog handles it all for you. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft a season-long best ball team, and that's it. No in-season management. They're going to give you $25 when you sign up so you can take a free shot at a $1 million grand prize in their fantasy football tournament. That's right. You can get a free $25 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use the code KEIM, K-E-I-M, when you make your first deposit. I love Underdog because it's just so easy to use. The mobile app is slick. The website is user-friendly. So do what I've been doing. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com, join a league, draft a team, and that's it. You're good for the season. Remember, go to UnderdogFantasy.com, the App Store, or the Google Play Store. Sign up with the code KEIM, K-E-I-M, and get a free $25 in bonus cash.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Today, day one of training camp. My quick analysis of what transpired on July 28th, the first day that Washington could work out on the field. So let's get to it. First, don't forget to follow my work on ESPN.com. Every one of our NFL Nation reporters will file a daily nugget on what transpired in practice so you can get some information not only on Washington, but every other team. It's a quick and good read. Now, let's get to what you want, which is the first practice. Before I get into the practice, I will say it was nice to have the fans back watching practice. Tight end Logan Thomas talked about this in a press conference after practice about how nice it was because last year was so weird with them not out at the field. And it rang true for me too. You missed them last year when they weren't practicing, when they were practicing at their facility and fans couldn't be there. But today there are probably about 2,500 fans in attendance. And while it wasn't a raucous group, they were noticeable and they do make it more fun and add more energy. They, of course, always cheer for the big offensive plays or when a guy like Jimmy Moreland picks off a pass as he did today, or they cheer more for their favorite guy. Today, that guy was Taylor Heinicke. He had one nice seam ball down the left seam to tight end Sammis Reyes. Now, Reyes got a clean release off the line, was open down the field, and it was a good ball. But Reyes also had to reach up and made a good catch. The crowd, of course, went crazy for Heinicke. Not much love was thrown toward Reyes, some, but most of it was toward Heinicke. On the next play, Heinicke missed Steven Sims on a swing pass. The ball was a bit wide and skipped off Sims' fingertips. The crowd, of course, seemed to chastise Sims more for a drop. They didn't want to take it out on Heinicke. Classic training camp stuff, and I loved it. Terry McLaurin and corner William Jackson III will be fun to watch all summer. Jackson is physical at the line, and McLaurin said he's worked quite a bit on improving his release off the ball. On one route today, Jackson stopped McLaurin with his hands, made it tough for him to get away because of how physical he was. But on another route, McLaurin got a quick inside release, got Jackson running back up the field on his outside, and then quickly sat down and turned outside for an open catch. Classic route running, veteran move, and it began because of his release. McLaurin is really, really smart, as you guys know, but that's something that continues to be apparent. He said now that teams have a lot of tape on him, he wants to keep improving, and one way to do that is by improving his release. And we talked a little bit about this in the spring, saw some of it there, but you're seeing it now. It's going to be a little bit hard to see perhaps all that he's worked on because it's difficult. But what you can see is the effectiveness of it. If he's consistently getting open because of that, then you'll know that things are clearly working. Washington rotated its safety combination with Landon Collins and Cam Curl at times lining up together, and Bobby McCain would get thrown in that mix. It could well depend on matchups as far as what it does in games. They do want to see how Curl works the deep middle and when he's needed. He did play corner in the SEC, so it's not like he's just completely slow. And a big key at that position are instincts and being in the right spot. Troy Apke, as we know, is faster, but Curl plays so much better and is always in the right spot. That's using your eyes. That's knowing your assignment, trusting your eyes. McCain is more of a ball hawk, so he's more of a true middle safety. But what this group does and what a guy like Benjamin St. Juste does at corner are provide options. It gives Jack Del Rio the ability to mix and match a lot more than he could last year. That is, if they come through. St. Juice has to come through. I'll get to him in a minute.
This episode is brought to you by HP. Whenever you do your best thinking, the HP Spectre X360 is ready when inspiration strikes. With power save for battery life and focus mode to multitask, you can do your best thinking whenever and wherever it happens. You can't always schedule when and where you might have a brilliant thought, whether it's in the morning or before bed, when you're at your computer or away from it. Thinking can happen anywhere and anytime. The HP Spectre X360 2-in-1 convertible PC with Windows 10 saves battery life for whenever an idea hits you. HP Spectre X360, a more thoughtful laptop.
Ryan Fitzpatrick took all the first-team reps as we expected. Again, if they're not going to rotate those reps, whether by series or by day, then it's not really a competition. So we'll know more about what Ron Rivera is truly thinking as the days unfold. And but I will say the way the players talk about Fitzpatrick, it's hard to see it becoming that kind of a competition. They love his knowledge and how that can help them. McLaurin said there were times today, one of the benefits he said about Fitzpatrick is he can get him out of certain calls based on how he sees the defender's leverage. Now, not everything's going to always go perfect, but he said that Fitzpatrick knows how to get them out of bad looks, and that's vital. McLaurin said it allows them to play with more confidence, and he feels it empowers them. Now, he just can't throw a lot of picks. That's going to be an issue. And the only pick today was Jimmy Moreland's that occurred off a drop pass by Antonio Gibson over the middle. With Cornelius Lucas out because of COVID issues, rookie Sam Cosmi was working at right tackle. I didn't focus as much as I wanted to on him. I did a little bit, but one thing I'm going to continue to watch, thanks to Logan Paulson, is Cosmi's hands. If you recall, I had Paulson on in my podcast earlier this summer. He talked about Cosmi's hands and his tendency to drop them too low before striking. You can get away with that in college. You're going to have a hard time getting away with that in the NFL. On one rep, I did see that today. His hands dropped and it allowed Montez Sweat to drive him back because he could get into his chest. It's just something to keep an eye on as camp unfolds and as preseason games get underway. I felt Benjamin St. Juste had some mixed results in press coverage. He was all over Antonio Gandy Golden a few times, and I felt like Gandy Golden had a hard time releasing. That was one of the problems that he had in college. That was one of the knocks on him coming out, was his ability to get off press coverage. And you saw that against St. Juste as well. There was another time where St. Juste went against McLaurin, and based on McLaurin's body language, he'd have been called for holding. There were a little bit of, he did say something at the end of the route because his hands were all over him. And like I said, I think McLaurin would agree that that's what his body language was suggesting. And one thing I will say on McLaurin too, and you saw it if you had a chance to watch his press conference, you can see why he's a team leader. He's not going to say anything controversial, and he's not going to get in guys' faces and say, you're wrong for doing this. And I'm talking about the COVID situation, obviously, and the vaccines and people getting vaccines. It's obviously a big topic with this team, unfortunately, because of the situation the society is in and because of what the NFL is doing and how some of the rules. But when asked about it, McLaurin was like, he said he got vaccinated. But he said he respects others' decisions and he's not going to call guys out. He's not going to shame guys. I think you see why guys respect him. I think it's just who he is. And just a little tip, like if guys are coming into the press conference and they're not wearing a mask, they've been vaccinated. If they're wearing a mask, they haven't been. So if you're watching it and you want to know, that's where it is. I know we're all going to get tired of this. So trust me, I'm right there with you. But it is something, because of the way this season is, it's become a storyline. Be curious to see how De'Ami Brown develops. I liked the reaction that he had on one route where he had to sit down over the middle. Linebacker Jamin Davis saw him, sprints at him, and as he gets up there, Brown slides to the outside, creates an opening for the quarterback, and he caught the ball. Just good awareness by Brown, it looked like on that play. I also saw him with a nice catch on a slant. I also, one guy that I haven't talked a lot about is Kelvin Harmon, and we'll get to him as camp unfolds, but it was funny because I was talking to somebody on the sidelines today about how much, you like him and you like his physical style. I think actually it was Bram. Bram and I were talking about him, because he's so physical. Well, on the play where I watch him, you see that physical play where he basically took the corner's hands and I think it was St. Just and just swats him out of the way and creates a bit of an opening for himself because of that. I think little things like that are why he may not he's not going to be a guy who's going to get open a ton down the field, but he is a guy that can create some space in tight situations because of that. Finally, and I'm going to get to guys like Chase Young in future reports. He looked like Chase Young today. And one thing I will say, there was one time where it looked like Charles Leno Jr. jumped a little bit early because he was facing Chase Young. But one guy that I felt stood out along the defensive line today was James Smith-Williams. I like the strength he plays with. There were a couple times where you'd see a tight end like Reyes coming at him, and he'd stand him up, and he'd be able to get off him. You saw that happen a few times. His versatility really provides, you talk about options, guys like that who have that versatility provide options. And we'll see how he progresses. I liked how he finished last year, but I liked what he showed in the opening practice today. Again, no pads. They're not going to be in pads until next week when they get back to Ashburn. But I did like the start he had today. All right, I told you it'd be quick. That's it from me. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back on Thursday with another quick practice report. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Talk to you next time.